morning, everyone. I am Trooper Brinegar with the Canadian Armed Forces. More specifically, I'm an armored crewman with the South Alberta Light Horse, stationed here at the Cpl James Curry Jefferson Armory. Thank everyone for inviting me here today to speak to you about Canadians veterans and the importance of Remembrance Day. It is important to remember the sacrifices made by the men and women of our nation's military over the years, sacrifices made in many conflicts around the world, most recently Afghanistan. These were sacrifices, hardships, suffering, loss of life, that made to keep our country strong and free. Sacrifices that let you live your life today in relative peace and comfort. Sacrifices that permit you to choose how you want to live your life. Perhaps I can sum up the importance of remembering these sacrifices in just 3 words. Lest we forget. Lest we forget was a warning not to forget the sacrifices made during the First World War, a war unlike any other seen before that. Of the more than 500,000 Canadians who served in Canada's military, 1 in every 10 were killed. While 1 in every 4 were wounded. Take a look around you and try and imagine what that must be like. With at least 1 dead and 2 wounded for every 10 people here. Lest we forget now serves as a reminder of that war and all of the struggles and conflicts since. It is a warning for us to keep a careful watch over our hard-won freedoms. A warning to be prepared to defend our freedoms, to avoid suffering the same deadly consequences yet again. This is why Canada is marking the 100th anniversary of the beginning of the First World War this year. Because even though no veterans of that war remain alive, we must never forget the terrible price they paid for their freedoms, or for our freedoms that we enjoy today. On a side note, the last surviving member of the First World War died 4 years ago. He died at the age of 109. He was 17 years old when the war ended, and his name was John Babcock. Generations of veterans, through their courage, determination, and sacrifice, have helped to ensure that you and I continue to live in a free and peaceful country. But hundreds of thousands of Canadians have had to take the stand to protect our freedom, and tens of thousands have died protecting it for us. More than 1 million Canadians took that stand in the Second World War. A few who are still alive today carry the memories of the deadliest military conflict in human history. A conflict which engulfed the entire world and claimed the lives of 60 million people, almost twice the population of Canada. A conflict that could have easily been lost to regimes that stripped away people's freedoms. We owe those brave souls our gratitude for the country we live in today. Lest we forget. And we owe a debt of gratitude to the thousands of men and women in uniform who followed since the end of the Second World War. Those who serve under the threat of nuclear war throughout the Cold War. Those who responded time after time to help stabilize international crisis. Often in the support of the United Nations. Whether in combat during the Korean War, where hundreds of Canadians died during fierce fighting, or placed in harm's way in more than 30 dangerous peacekeeping missions around the world, members of Canada's military help ensure that those here at home can go to school, work, and play in peace. Lest we forget. We must also not forget the sacrifices of the 40,000 Canadian men and women who left the safety of Canada to help bring hope, democracy, and the rule of law to Afghanistan. A country that threatened world stability and the way of life we hold so dear. With the end of the Afghan mission and the declaration of the National Day of Honor earlier this year, Canada acknowledged the sacrifices made by those who fought in Afghanistan and the price paid by their families. 158 Canadians lost their lives during the 12-year conflict, while more than 2,000 other veterans returned home wounded. Lest we forget. Every day while you work, rest, or play, Canada's sailors, soldiers, airmen, and airwomen continue to watch over the security interests of Canada, both here at home and abroad. Canadians in uniform keep watch over our skies and ocean approaches, ready to respond immediately to potential threats that can affect our security and safety. Around the world, working in coalitions and alliances, Canada's military is contributing to the response to the crisis in the Ukraine, the conflicts in the Middle East, and the tension in the Pacific, and the ongoing war on terrorism. Canada is rated one of the best countries in the world to live in. Canadians enjoy more freedoms than most anywhere in the world. We owe it to veterans never to forget it is their sacrifices that made this possible. Most veterans and their families simply want to know that their sacrifices were not in vain. They want to know that people appreciate that our freedoms have been hard fought for and understand they should be zealously guarded. You can find websites such as the Veterans Affairs or the Royal Canadian Legion to show how you can help honor the sacrifices of veterans and their families. Or you can simply take a moment to think about what kind of life you would have today if you did not enjoy your personal freedoms. And whisper, thank you, the next time you see a veteran. But do take the time to pause and reflect. Do take the time to remember. It is important. Why? Lest we forget. Thank you.